So, I know I'm late, but I still really wanted to talk about this special program, because oh boy, there is a lot to talk about. I'm certain that I'll miss quite a lot of things that could be relevant in this short analysis, because there is so much, but I wanted to at least talk about the things that I noticed in this special program, and point out some interesting details. I mainly focus on the story and lore of these, as usual, and I will also start with the trailer first, and then go over some interesting moments in the rest of the live stream. Obviously, there is a short disclaimer, as none of this is released yet. I am sure to make some mistakes, whether smaller or bigger, so please take all I say in this video with a grain of salt. But with all of that out of the way, let's get to the trailer of 5.0. So we first see the big stadium in which the tournament or the pilgrimage is going to happen. And from what we heard in this livestream and previous teasers, this happens every year. Except Natlan has a huge problem with the Abyss seemingly trying to invade it, so it seems like this year's tournament will be especially important. And apparently Kinich won this tournament multiple times in the past, so he's likely going to be an important attendant. We also know that Kachina is very excited to participate in this tournament as well, so we'll probably see her there too.
We've arrived at the final phase. The winner of this match will take the final spot among the victors. Give it up for a long time.
And actually you could see Mavuika sitting right here on her throne in front of this announcer guy.
And first-time finalist.
From this point forward, everything we know about the real world.
Then we can see these underground areas. Some of these are probably from domains, and some are part of the Abyss or Night Kingdom that we will likely enter to save Natlan. Well, I said the Abyss, but they actually called it the Night Kingdom as I said before, and I didn't remember hearing that name before, so I'm not sure if it's some sort of gateway between Teyvat and the Abyss or something of that sort. It may actually be the realm of the dead in Natlan. And the woman voice that started speaking to us just now was likely Chaska, if I'm not wrong.
World no longer applies. Anything can happen here. There's something in the depths of this place that feels familiar, yet also foreign.
The pilgrimage is not merely a trial.
Yeah, and we could see some sort of abyssal fissure right here, and then they talk about the pilgrimage, which they say is the trial to determine who is the strongest, and from what we heard in the rest of the live stream, that's likely Mavuika, at least for now. She's also probably the one speaking right here.
Trial to determine the strongest among us, but also a stage upon which to showcase your individual growth.
The purpose of the pilgrimage is not only to select strong warriors, but also to collect contending fire from the battles. Natlan is
So then they talked about collecting the contending fire, which is probably a mechanism similar to when the Oratrice was collecting the belief in justice in Fontaine. Just in this case, it's a fire that's collected through the pilgrimage, that also likely helps to stop the Abyss. So it seems like collecting this contending fire keeps the sacred flame of Natlan alive. It's also likely connected to the Natlan's Gnosis, since Capitano wants to take it from Mavuika to change the rules of Natlan, and she doesn't want to give it up, so it's probably important.
only safe from the invasion of the Abyss, while the sacred flame burns eternal.
Yeah, and here they also mentioned the sacred name just as I spoke about it, even though I'm not sure these two are connected. It sounds like it in these voice lines, so probably collecting the fire means also keeping the flame alive.
Guess I'll have to wait until the next pilgrimage.
And in the live stream they also mentioned that Kachina failed to win the pilgrimage multiple times in the past, but she never gives up, so it seems she probably failed again for some reason.
I'm still not sure why our Wyatt.
And there she mentions Viop and the fact that it chose her, but I'll talk about what exactly that is later in this video. But keep in mind that Viop is a pretty important term.
Chose me of all people. It took the combined efforts of the then Pyro Archon and heroes from every tribe to finally repel the Abyss.
So from these lines, it seems like Natlan was very heavily hit by the Kandrian disaster and the monsters of the Abyss. And as we already knew before this, the current Pyro Archon is not the original one, and it seems that she died while repelling the Abyss in the past. Actually, if I'm remembering this correctly, Zhongli and Venti are the only original ones that are still alive.
Even so, the effects of the invasion lingered for hundreds of years, only able to be reversed little by little. Our current Archon achieved an overwhelming
Yeah, and when Kachina talks about the current Archon Mavuika right here, she probably means the pilgrimage.
Victory. The result was obvious from the beginning. I really want to win this time and become a true warrior. But through our long history of fighting the Abyss, we've realized things aren't quite so simple. The Abyss has invaded the Night Kingdom and has the capacity to read the memories of this land at any.
So then they say that the Abyss has invaded the Night Kingdom, which, as I already mentioned before, I don't know what that exactly is, so we will be going there obviously to fight the Abyss. It seems that this place is somehow some way connected to the ancient names. They also mentioned that those who triumph over the Abyss earn the right to be revived, which is likely connected to the reignition mechanic we heard about in the livestream. They mentioned that in Natlan, the heroes can continue fighting even after sacrificing until the war is over, so maybe it's possible for some of our characters to die and be revived again. I can imagine that being a sort of plot twist in Natlan. And we learn that death also means the destruction of ancient name in that place, and the people of Natlan inherit this ancient name to enhance their powers from what I understood. For example, Kachina's ancient name is Utabiti, and it seems like it grants her power. Anyway, we can see many of these ghost thingies later in the trailer, so I wonder if the Night Kingdom is something like a place of the dead in Natlan. Maybe the ghosts represent those who died and lost their ancient names. Similanka and some other recent quests in Genshin imply the importance of names, so maybe it was just a hint for what is to come in Natlan.
Given moment.
Going there. The Night Kingdom? Only those who triumph over the Abyss
Yeah, and here you can see the Night Kingdom, and these are the ghosts I talk about.
earn the right to be revived. Defeat not only means death, but also the destruction of your ancient name, preventing it from
Also, in this particular shot, you can see the celestial nail up here, while down here there are obsidian pillars with ancient names engraved into them.
ever being inherited again.
Also, the person speaking right now was probably Kinich.
You heard something from
Then we hear a strange voice that sounds almost abyssal, and I honestly have no idea who this could be.
here, didn't you? Kinich!
Probably someone important.
What is the meaning of this? Only one way to awaken you all from your willful blindness. More sacrifices must be made.
You'll die if you try to make your way forward. Why don't you just give up?
You want to know why I won't give up? I should have died 5 years ago. Take me as your next sacrifice.
Yeah, they also mention sacrifices a lot throughout this trailer, which could be connected to the reignition I already spoke about. Although someone in the trailer wants to be straight up sacrificed, so I don't know what's up with that really. Maybe the person is trying to shield for someone else, hard to say.
Natlan is on the verge of destruction. It's very possible our nation has less than a year before total.
Yeah, and Mavuika says that Natlan is about to be destroyed, probably by the Abyss that's invaded the Night Kingdom, and I'm sure that the presence of the Fatui and them trying to get the Gnosis doesn't help the situation.
Devastation.
Once your ancient name disappears, there's
Here they talk more about the ancient names, and I think that this means that once you lose your ancient name, that as we heard before can happen because of the Abyss, you can be reignited. Also, this place really reminds me of Academia, with that big light shining from the Tell Tower. But what's more interesting about this is the symbol in the middle. If you look closely, you can see the symbol of Pyro, and the 6 flames representing the 6 tribes of Natlan around it. The star also, aside from other things, closely resembles Mavuika's eyes.
no coming back.
And here we could see Yansan, Chaska, Kachina, Mulani and the Traveler and Paimon. So both Yansan and Chaska will probably play a big role in the story, even though they aren't playable yet. But this makes me believe that they could be playable in 5.1. Also, speaking of future versions, it's really interesting that they mentioned later in the livestream that we'll get rewards for all the regional Archon quests including 5.0, 5.1 and 5.3, which makes me wonder what will be happening in version 5.2. And if I'm not wrong, around that time should be the usual winter events and stuff, so I wonder if we will get an interlude or something where Durin is going to actually get revived in 5.2. I mean, I would love for that to happen, but I unfortunately don't think that's very likely.
No! Why can't I find him?
Then we can see these weird abyssal looking things, along with abyssal looking Saurians, so maybe the abyss is corrupted Natlan.
Why?
Every
Yeah, and these are the corrupted Saurians.
great display of power comes at a price.
And this is probably Abyss Herald or Lecter probably talking to us, which makes sense in this place, I guess. But we can also see this weird looking figure later, and I wonder who that could be. Yeah, and this figure is the one I talked about.
its impending doom. What use is the Gnosis in your hands?
That was a line that was obviously said by Capitano, by the way.
I don't know what you mean. But it sounds like this is about more than the Tsaritsa.
Your plan has reached an impasse, and now it falls to me to create new rules for natlan.
So here we could see Capitano using something that looks like cryo, but not really a regular cryo power as we know it. It looks more like some sort of abyssal cryo powers. We actually learned quite a bit about Capitano in this live stream. You can see that his face isn't just an empty void, but as many of us suspected, he has a tangible head. But he is still faceless, so it's hard to say if he really hides his face behind the mask, or if there is really only this black face and no real face. It also seems like there are scales or even dragon scales on his arms. Also his fingers seem really sharp, although that could just be his armor. There are some theories that suggest that he could be the Dragon Sovereign of Natlan, or rather the Cryo Dragon Sovereign, since he uses cryo-like powers, but I believed it to be more likely that he's the Bloodstained Knight or the Immunlocker from Sanvindagnir. We can now be pretty sure that he will fight Mavuika one-on-one. He also later mentions that her plan failed and he will take the Gnosis to for new rules for Natlan. Throughout the livestream, they also confirmed that he is indeed the first of the 11 Fatui Harbingers and the strongest of all the Fatui. This was heavily implied and theorized by the community for a long time, but it's nice to get a confirmation. So this means that we have absolutely no clue who the number 10 of the Fatui Harbingers is. It could be Piero, but that's very unlikely since he's already confirmed to be the director of the Fatui, so it wouldn't make much sense in my opinion.
People like us. Let our flames do the talking!
Also, Mavuika's hair grows when she's using her powers, so that's nice. But that's all I wanted to mention about this trailer, so for now let's take a look at the rest of the livestream and what it reveals to us in terms of story and lore. So in this version we will have the 3 of the 6 tribes in Natlan, the children of the Echoes that have the Tepetlosaurus, people of the Springs who have the Koholasaurus, and the Scions of the Canopy that have the Yunkasaurus as their saurians. And in the area of the Scions of Canopy is also the Ancestor Temple that looks quite important, that I hope will show on the screen right now. There is also a new resource called Phlogiston that is probably related to the orange bar that we could see in some of these shots. I don't know how exactly this mechanic will work, but from what they said, it functions as an energy source and it can also be used in battles. Also, vision holders can communicate with something called Vibe of each tribe, and the ley lines too. And thanks to that, increase their strength. I already mentioned Vibe when I talked about Kachina. It's a tribal overseer or a leader that we see in the previous trailers as well, that looked a lot like a biblically accurate angel. So each of the tribes has one of these, and the Natlan characters can get Night Soul's blessings, which enhances their powers from them. So we can activate the Statue of the Seven in Natlan as usual, but we don't actually get the powers of Pyro, which is really sus and probably has something to do with the Abyss trying to invade Natlan. But maybe it's also connected to the Archon, and there may be some gimmick like in all of the previous nations, like that Furina isn't actually the Archon and so on. We then learn that Chaska is from the Flower Feather clan and that she is a mediator among various tribes. Then there is Yansan, who is from the Collective of Plenty, and she is a fitness instructor and a mentor for fighters of the pilgrimage. It seems that the work quest in Natlan will function a bit differently than in other nations. We will go to these obsidian stones that the ancient names are carved into, and access the tribal chronicles that will have some quests, including some story quests centered around that said tribe. I originally didn't plan to talk about this, but I noticed that the Pyro gemstone is very much referenced in the lyrics of Natlan's main themes, at least those we heard in the livestream. They included a lot about the pilgrimage, battling for names, burning to cinders, returning from the ashes, resurrection, and so on. It's actually quite possible that the Pyro gemstone talks about Capitano, or someone else from Natlan directly. Well, that will be all for this quick lore analysis. I hope you enjoyed this video and that you learned something new from this. I also hope that I mentioned most of what I noticed throughout the live stream, but if you noticed something that I didn't mention in this video, please tell me in the comments down below. I'm very excited for Natlan and 5.0, which is so far shaping up to be the biggest single update we ever got in Genshin in my opinion. But with all of that said, I'll see you in the next one, so take care.